listen, you can't hold me down forever. You can't lock me up for 2 long. I was in jail for 24 days. I deserved it. I went to rehab for 3 months. I loved it. I needed it. And now I'm coming to you very happy to be out and free and ready to speak my opinion. When I was in jail, I couldn't vote, but if I could have voted, I probably still wouldn't have because it's like a lot of work. But I was like really sure Trump was gonna win. Like if I thought he needed me to vote for him, I would have gone. But I don't know, it's too much. I just don't vote. I just trust. I trusted Trump was gonna win. And everyone in jail was like, wow! And then I get out and people on the street are like, oh my god, Trump's ruining my world. I'm gonna live in a cardboard box. I'm like, who got to you? Like, what are you watching that makes you think that? Okay, when I was in rehab, we had to watch the news from 6 to 8 in the morning and then from 5 to 5:30 at night. And yeah, every news station, they're spinning stories like making people be like, oh, Trump did what? You don't even understand what they're saying. It's like they would have like a whole, like, this is like the local news. They had like 10-minute story on like, Trump said he was going to do this, and there was like all these people like saying, this is how it could, like, it scares me, and this and that, and it's like, and then at the end of it, I'm like, where was the news? What happened? It's like, nothing. They were just like hyping it up. Like, they want the whole world to have this sort of like, what do you call it? Buyer's remorse. And they're like somehow getting it to the people really well. Like, everyone's kind of like, I don't know what I did. I wonder what the real people, like the people who really see it the way I see it, I wonder what they're thinking. I wish that I could watch a news station of people who think like me talking about what's going on. I mean, it's like, I think he's gonna rip the 1%'s asshole out and like shove it down their throat and then let us come and like feed. We need him. You're like, what? But anyway, I'm like really happy. Yeah, I got out of jail November 13th. Went to rehab November 15th, and then I just got out February 13th. I was gonna go on a date with my friend Matthew, but he developed like a really bad seizure disorder since we made the date for Valentine's, so I didn't go out. I can't go out. I'm really sad. He's not like I'm not gonna marry him, but he is really a nice 22-year-old kid. I'm 31, so he's way too young for me, but I thought it was nice. Go off for Thanksgiving, or for Valentine's Day, but alright. I'm sort of like getting a grip. I'm living in a house with a bunch of other girls, sober living. Feels great to be in a sober, safe place. Everyone works. They work really hard at their sobriety and at keeping a really sane lifestyle. Everything's like really clean. Everyone's really nice, and they make me be very accountable for my behavior and for drug use and stuff. They're screening. I have Wi-Fi. I share a room with another girl. And we have our own huge bathroom, which is what I've been hanging out in like for hours tonight. Like, there's all these beauty products that were left behind. I'm like, condition my hair. I'm gonna roll my hair. And it's just like, I don't know. It's been 4 months since I've been online, and it's been since September 2022 that I've had anything to say. I mean, I've had some stuff put on YouTube about the HOT team, which I still, hot, homeless outreach team. It's not hot team, it's hot. Homeless outreach team. No. They are Masons. They are order number 26. Freemasonry. They have an office in the Masonic Temple. They share it with the women, what do they call it? There's like a women's guild. They share the office with them, and there is a woman who works for them that is absolutely cruel to women, especially homeless women. And I've written them several explicit threats and deliver them to their office. I'm not sure they realize I know who they are. Like, they walk around like they're the fire department. They got red trucks. They look like they're the fire department. They say they're official people. They are predators, potentially serial killers, and this one was awful to me. And it's like, I'm over it. So that's the only other thing I've had to say. Like, that's what I was talking about on my YouTube, like, last summer. Hot team that again, and I'm like, oh, but you guys don't know what I'm doing. I'm just like, I was walking around Grand Rapids, and I was noticing there's like a lot of serial killers, and there was this fad where like serial killers were in like in these white crew cab pickup trucks with like all tinted windows, and they were going around and they were like picking up prostitutes and homeless people and killing them. People would disappear every day. And me and my friend Tone, we got one of those scopes from the NRA, and we got like the details of like of their vehicles, and when they go pass by, we write it down. We did some like, that's how we met Kurt Fritz, this engineer with MDOT, because he had one of those white trucks, and so we're like, who the fuck are you? Come to find out, he was like tangentially related, but he wasn't a serial killer. At the end of the day, no one had to go to prison, but the white trucks did end up stop doing that. It was a Kent construction company, and the Rinaldis, and they stopped, and that's all we really needed. I mean, at this point, it's like it's been a long time. When I was a little girl, 2 women were murdered, one back to back in this park I lived near, Highland Park, and their bodies were splayed on the railroad tracks, and it was never really looked into because they were just prostitutes. And this happened like 5 feet away from the Rinaldi's home, and I know who did it. He lives at 100 Grand Ave Northeast. It's a beautiful ranch-style home with river rocks. I don't know what happened to him, but he killed those girls, alright? But then he was just laying dormant. The Rinaldis, they have a lot of bad people associated with them. It's like they can't control them, they just know about them. And they want them to stop, but it's like, what do you do? The Rinaldi family's fucked up. So, but I don't know what happened. Like, something came over him, and he came out of his house, and he threatened me, and he attacked me, and I looked at him, I saw it all, I knew everything. I was like, I know exactly who this dude is. And it's like, I'm not big into, like, putting people in prisons. That guy, maybe he should go, but it's like, where's the proof? I believe in justice beyond this lifetime, and, like, not, like, hell or something, but I'm not feeling like I need to go be the police and inflict punishment. My son was murdered, and I forgive those boys. And I can't wait to go into the courtroom for my victim's statement and look at them and say, I forgive you. Because it feels good to me to let this go. I forgive you. I don't want you to carry this guilt around with you for the rest of your life. I want you to feel it. Feel the absolution, the forgiveness from me, and find a relationship with your higher power. Knowing that you can have that relationship. You're not banned from humanity, from heaven, or grace, or anything. It's like, you know, it's like, that guy killed those girls. I'll let other people, like, figure out what to do with it. I don't know. 100 Grand Ave. A bunch of stolen river stones from Highland Park. Like, he stole from the natives way back. And, like, there's, like, this, and there's a wind tunnel that goes through it. And, like, on a 95-degree day in the city, it's, like, 60 degrees, and, like, it feels amazing right there. His house has, like, natural wind tunnel, and it's, like, all these rocks from Highland Park were put there. The trees in that park, there are many really old pine trees, but they're not as old as trees used to be. So, Michigan Hill, the really, really, really old big trees, the natives decided that it was imperative that they built houses out of that to house the Europeans fleeing from war and famine. And so they took their like really, really old big trees that were like meant everything to them, and they built houses. And those houses are what Grand Rapids has today. And all the wood in those homes are very, they are very, like the wood in this house I'm in a Heritage Hill home in Grand Rapids. This wood is like alive. It is sacred to the native people still. And so then after they tore down all of their trees that they'd had for generations, they went to Highland Park and they planted some more. And those ones are like the babies who are like, they know of the other trees, but they're not them, and they'll never be harvested. And you can go there and you can talk to them, and they don't talk back, but they really, maybe they do to you. Like, they're really special. There's been some like blight on them, and we tried to like put like mosaic over it, and I don't really know. People don't keep up those traditions anymore, but it's really hard to when, like, right there, right where those trees are, right where that house is, those girls had their bodies laid out. It's like something out of like NCIS, like some sort of bones. Like, this is a serial killer who put bodies on display for attention. It effectively derailed the railroad. Doesn't run anymore. It hasn't run since then, and you can't even walk it. It's like there's like IEDs, like improvised explosives in it. People buried bodies along it and under it, like railroad ties. Like back in the day, like before we came to Michigan, like 1906, and like the Marquettes were like raping the land. Well, they were stealing minerals and stuff from grave sites. What it was is that like they had lots of dead people, and so they like tied a railroad together with dead bodies. And so when people fleeing World War I came over on boats, then CSX Amtrak brought them to Michigan on trains, which is a fun story. It took 30 years to get us all here, those European refugees. When we got here, it was like the worst thing you could ever imagine. Bodies. The railroads were made of bodies. The fields were covered in bodies. And there was no food, so like people had to harvest like meat off their own body to eat it, while they worked the land that's full of bodies so that it can be like green grasses. And they had to take out all the dead people and cut down the trees and tie the railroad with trees instead of dead people. But it took like a long time. The first people to come from Europe did a lot of work to fix the way Michigan looked so that the young people could come in and be like, oh wow, a new farmland to live in. Wow, it's beautiful, beautiful pastures. Thank you for this gift the natives gave us. It's like the natives were like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. It's just dead bodies everywhere, and it's like piles of dead bodies, and it's like, you know, taken. So it's like Canada and France and then like the natives of this area all worked together to bring about like 30 million people to Michigan. Landed them in a Wyoming, Michigan yard, and back then it was Baltimore Ohio Railroad Company. They started in 1906, secretly hauling 10 passenger cars a day from New York into Wyoming, Michigan, which is like Grand Rapids, Michigan. And for like 30 years, they knew about it, but they couldn't get them to stop. So they started suing them and sue them endlessly. And so then after 30 years of hauling in people on their rail lines, and the price got huge. And so then they countersued. They said, all right, so you're suing us for all that, bringing all these people to your land on your railroads. Oh, they thought they had it. The money they were asking for was so fucking high, right? And then it was like, the countersuit was like, how about all the money from the extractions you've done in these 30 years. While we've been putting people here, how much money have you made in ore and iron and all the exports from Michigan, right? So the countersuit was huge. I think that because it's in a trust in New York State, and we don't really know, my estimate, the Baltimore Railroad Company won a lawsuit that equals today about $13 trillion. That's my guess. And that's just in New York City, and it's never been touched because that money, they said that countersuit, that's for the people we brought to Michigan. They can have it. So us, me and the other 30 million, it's like that railroad company gave us a gift of like this trust gives us the right to be in America and to be here, be citizens. We're like our own nation. You know, it's like because that money backs America and it backs our banks, and we don't touch it because we don't need anything. We are here. It's like a really disturbing history, you know? And it's just really brilliant because in so many ways it's like the natives, I mean, honestly, it's like whatever. We could take the stuff from the graves. We should be recycling people's bodies and the chemicals in bodies and making things with them. These people were just taking from them and not giving anything back. But at the end of the day, these people did all the work for the natives who had million years of bodies from all over the world decomposing in Michigan, in Grand Rapids. They didn't have to do any of the unearthing. They didn't have to have any of those hard discussions about how to keep it sacred. They just let their enemies come in, harvest the graves for 50, 100 years, and then in the end they sued them. The railroad company won, and there's America, and that is the story of the United States. And this is true, because honestly, if this hadn't, let's see, Michigan, Andrew Jackson's gambit, from the 1800s to like 1861, we were basically under the Confederacy, and while I adore them, Jackson's gambit was just too big to lose. We're taking Michigan by force, or nothing, because I can't. It's like too much money to not attack them, and there's not enough people. So like the natives were like, all right, what are roads? And the French were like, lines we drew to prove that our biggest export are warrior men who all agree they won't work anymore. So we drew lines, and the lines are roads and they're private, and the squares are man's domain, and each square has a man who owns it, and he's a warrior man who's away at war. His woman lives there, and when he comes home, he won't work no more. It's like we drew the lines in the grid of Michigan in the 1860s as that's the way we fought the Civil War, because they couldn't really take us over. Before then, they could have guerrilla warfare, anything, but we were just too big to beat. That's why it didn't get up here. And they tried to just, take their losses in the southern states, and we just went down there and pulled it apart. And I mean, since 1906, we've basically been accepting refugees like nonstop, but it was really big from 1906 to 1936. And that's where you get the $13 trillion that I bet that was what Andrew's gambit was for. But no, that's the backbone of America, and it'll never be touched. Fuck you, Amtrak!